Welcome to
Keenan
and Meg
and
the Gospel Love Ring.
Good evening, YouTube fam. It is me, Jamani, back again with another video. So guys, I'm going to tell you all the story of how I met Bryce. Bryce and I met through Constance. And let me tell you, this man is the best man I've ever had. You know, my ex-boyfriend, who should not be mentioned in his blog, has done me dirty. He basically cheated on me 3 times with this, person who should not be mentioned in his blog either. And so my ex-boyfriend threw away 16 years for another woman. And I got tired of the fact, my ex will spend for 5 minutes, go back to Clubhouse, and continue talking to this other woman. And I was having it. So then I decided to ask God to help me find a man that would treat me better, that would true respect. And lo and behold, God gave me Bryce. Yes, Bryce and I are, together. We started out as friends. Then we decided to become girlfriend and boyfriend. And we exchanged numbers, started talking on my message, and talking on the phone, text every day, calling every day. But sometimes when I'm busy, he lets me do what I want to do. And I let him do what he wants to do. Because we both give each other space. We don't smother each other. So him and I decided to talk. And let me tell you guys, this is the best relationship I've ever been in. Yes, Bryce has medical challenges, which I'm not going to get into details, whether his permission, because, I don't want to give too much information on him on social media. Because the people are, why are you putting his business out there on YouTube? Why are you telling people about his condition? But, what I do know, that is, him and I both were born in the summer. He was born in July and I was born in June. And I'll be 31 and he'll be 30 years old. And it's amazing that I'm only 1 year older than him. But he doesn't mind. He and I are, adults. We're not children. We're adults. And so whenever Megan and Keenan and I on the call, he'll join us whenever he can. And, surprisingly, he doesn't leave. Unlike my ex. So, the one thing I love about Bryce is that he's into night manager. And him and I became tag team partners. And when I introduced him to the game, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. And so, even though he and I are both long distance, they say long distance relationship sometimes works, sometimes it's not. But if you really love the person, you want to be with them, then you might as well go the extra mile to see them. Megan and Keenan, and they've been there for 2 years, 11 months. I've been with Bryce for 3 months. it'll be 4 months on June 17th. You know, even though I tried to keep my relationship to a minimum because my family does not know about Bryce, but eventually they're going to accept the fact that he is with me. My mom and my mother doesn't like me dating people who are not my race, but that's a different story for another day. And being raised to be a pastor's daughter, you gotta follow what your parents say. But Meg and Keenan, they are a couple. You know, their parents don't say nothing about them being together. My mother has the tendency of saying, "Oh, you're falling behind your younger sister. Your sister picking up these men that are not your color." But as long as you make the person happy, that's all that really matters. You know, even though Bryce isn't a Christian, but he's getting to know me as a Nazarene believer, even though I don't eat pork or anything, and he's alright with it. Some people, they go, "Oh, I can't be with you because you are, a Nazarene and you don't eat pork, or you don't do anything." But, Bryce is accepting of my heart condition, my blindness. I have some vision, and I have a defibrillator in my chest, which I'll get to that on Monday for my interview with Daniel. But, I started to think that maybe Bryce and I could be a thing and help each other with our disabilities. Yes, he's in a wheelchair, but I don't mind it because, that'll give me something to look forward to, and having someone who has, a medical condition, it's a miracle in itself. And I wonder if I'm doing the right thing for Bryce. Am I being the right girlfriend for Bryce? Or am I just or if I'm just, a type of girl that sits at home and sit on the phone and talk about, him all the time. My friends love him. They think that he's a nice man and a well-respected man. If people say that whatever makes you happy, makes you happy. But, for me and for him, it's a blessing. And it's also a dream to have a man that, can deal with women who have medical issues. But like I said, I'm not going to get into much detail of how I became, sick as a baby and down to the, newborn stage and now my adulthood. Because I'll say that for Monday when I do my interview with Daniel. Next Monday. And so, I do love Bryce. As I said, people just think that all because him and I are together, people are starting to get in their feelings about him and say, "Oh, you're dating a guy in the wheelchair. You're dating a guy that has, a medical condition." I'm pretty sure there's lots of blind people out there who have, seizures, heart problems, who have cerebral palsy, who have, autism and autism. There's a lot of people out there who have autism and, cerebral palsy and, and all that kind of stuff. But I would say Bryce and I, we love playing video games on our devices. Ever since I got it's funny, I begged my mom to get me an Alexa device because I always wanted to have one in my house. Even though my mom prayed about it, she's like, I don't know, because it might track your house, it might, it might think you're talking to it. But sometimes I just don't understand why I have to, be told the word no, it's too demonic, or whatever. Hello. But, praying is just about getting through the day. When you pray and ask God to help you and give, and show God the respect that you deserve, it's like telling God it's all Him what He's wanting. Sometimes you may not get the blessings that you deserve, but sometimes you have to go through the fire to come out the other side. But if you really think that most people have the tendency to see beyond the blindness, see beyond the heart condition, see beyond the seizures, you just have to have faith and believe that God can take you through it and bring you back out of it. Relationships are just as much as you relationship with God, you can take God and put God in your heart and say, I'm going to put all of it in your hands, just if it'll be in, in His own timing. But sometimes when you look at it, these people think that because you're in a relationship with someone, you have to be grateful that God puts you in a relationship to bring you out of it. But I'm here to tell you all today, don't rush yourselves into one. Especially when you have a spouse who's a non-believer, who's a relationship who doesn't have even if you're dating somebody who's a non-believer, you don't say, I want someone that's a Christian. No, you have to stay with somebody who has a Christian policy in them. Because, Bryce and I were talking about getting, closer to God. A lot of people say, if you get closer to God, you can tell God everything. Whether you're, in a relationship or not, don't rush yourselves into one. Because it will take a matter of time before you end up with someone else entirely. I'll tell you guys, all of you YouTube people, all of you YouTube fam, Y'all just need to just have faith in God to push you on through it. Whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're, married, it doesn't matter. As long as you have Jesus, that's all that really matters. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes by the word of God. And hopefully you all today, if you are going to church for Pentecost Sunday, mine isn't start till next month. But I hope you all take what I said and then take it to heart. That maybe if God wants you to, God can just put you on in the right position, and you have to realize that when you get in that position, stay in there. Stay for parents who have children. Pray with your babies, hug your children, love on them. Tell your children that you care, because they do care about you. But I don't give up too much way out here, because people said that, when you give God 110% of your time, you have to realize that, number one, only you matter in this case. Only you can stand up and say, I'm free. I hope and pray that you all tonight will have a better understanding of what God will do if you allow Him to step into your life, in your relationships. Because relationships do happen, and you're in God's own timing. People say don't rush into a relationship, because when you rush into one, it will break your heart. Trust me, it would. But at this point, if you really think about it, meeting someone off iMessage and meeting someone in person is a different story, do not give any stranger your address. Don't do that. Because then they'll be looking at you going, what happened? Stay with a person that's your age range, whether their birthday is, it doesn't matter if their birthday is in December, May, June, or July. Don't give them too much information. Because then they'll think that it's okay to come to your house and speak to you any old kind of way. Constance Anthony, Megan Keenan, Bryce and I, all of you guys know that relationships have to depend on one person, God. And if you put God first and put yourselves last, everything will be alright. Everything will be fine and dandy. Just don't hand the enemy your day. Happy Pentecost Sunday to all of you all who are celebrating the Pentecost today. And obviously mine's on June the 6th. And I want to tell my church feeling happy 55 years on the corner of Ashland. Yippee. So, like I said, there'll be an interview with me on Monday next week. Not this week, because he's doing Ranika's interview. And I hope that God will keep us here on earth. And, with it's funny because, when you date somebody that's you're a little one younger than you, as they say, age is nothing but a number. Nothing but a number. But I'm gonna tell you the way because I'm about to get some water to drink 'cause I'm thirsty. But if all of y'all want to know about anything, there is always a prayer answering on the other side of this river. So, I know me and my ex don't talk while you do talk, but not on Clubhouse. Consecutive app. I prefer Rambly over Clubhouse any old day. But, people say, why do you throw away 16 years for a whole another person that doesn't treat you with kindness? That's because the person that I was with didn't do anything right. All he wanted to do was, my ex wanted to do was talk to a whole new woman from North Carolina and get her number and talk to her. Go to her Clubhouse rooms every morning, every afternoon, every night. And so I decided to wait for God to send me a right man, which he sent me Bryce, which is awesome. But I'll tell you that, if y'all like to game with your partners, go ahead and game with them. Get on your Alexa devices and play it, because in that way you guys have a lot to come. But I am doing a Q&A on Bryce and how I met him. But then next week I'll be doing an interview with Daniel on his channel. Also subscribe to my channel, Johnny and Bryce's channel. It was Jamani Music, so I switched it to my hits because I got, a lot of people say you should have people subscribe to your channel. But I only have 41 subscribers. But I'm hoping to get more eventually when the time comes. But I hope everyone has a good weekend. Happy Memorial Day to all of you. And I hope every kid enjoys their summer. Make sure you drink plenty of water if you go to theme parks. Make sure you have water in your back pocket. So that way you can keep water in your system. Now, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to pray that all of you have a wonderful weekend. A 3-day weekend, mad. And when you do decide to reach out to me or Meg or Keen or Monica, we have our YouTube channels. We do blogs, gaming, church content, gaming content. Which I think tomorrow I'm going to do a demo of me doing this game called the Lemonade Stand game on the A-Lady. And it's also getting called Magic Realms. And it's also getting called the Magic Door and Night Manager. But I didn't mind the Night Manager a long time ago. So, yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I want to thank Meg, Kaden, and Monica, and Daniel, Thomas, and Diego, and all of my friends for being a great supporter to my relationship and causes as well. So, you all know that prayer does change things, and prayer does work. And happy 55 years to my church. Even though I'll be seeing them on June 6th. And I'll be celebrating my 31st birthday in June, which is a blessing that I'm still alive on this side of heaven. So, yeah. Stay tuned for next week when I am getting interviewed by Daniel. And so, yeah. I love you with the love of Jesus. There's something they can do about it. And if you love God, then show God some love by listening to hearts and praying hand emojis and clapping hands emojis. And give God the praise and all the glory and all the honor. Alright, love you guys with the love of Jesus. Nothing you can do about it. And happy Pentecost for those of you who are celebrating it today, and I'll be celebrating it on June the 6th. Alright? Talk to you guys later. Love you. Bye.
Well, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Please make sure to tune in and subscribe to the YouTube channel Keenan and Meg.